Hey there, Ryan Kingslien here, founder of ZBrush Workshops. I want to share with you this amazing feature. I mean amazing, and it's brand new in the new ZBrush. You can find it under Geometry. And if we go into ZRemesher, that's what I want to be talking to you about. Now, it's not technically a new feature because there was QRemesher there before. But when you see how amazing this is, you're going to understand. That's basically a brand new feature. It is a whole another level of topology and of working with your model. This is going to open up doors. But first, let me show you what it is without any hype or anything like that. So a lot of us, we sculpt in this kind of freehand way, and we don't care about topology, and stuff gets really nutty in certain areas. You know, you can see it getting kind of crazy right in here, and you can see them overlapping and just, you know, getting a little bit out of shape. Not even remotely animation friendly, right? I'd have to completely retopologize this. And you're not necessarily going to retopologize a smiling face. But I wanted to show you this because this is a fantastic example of how amazing this tool is. So, a little bit of hype. I promised I wouldn't get too much hype. All right, let's do this. I'm going to drop down to subdivision level 10 so you can see this topology. I'm going to move this over, snapshot that to canvas, and then get me kind of somewhere in that same view. And then it doesn't matter what subdivision level you're at for this, but as soon as you click ZRemesher, it's going to go into action. It's got a couple of things it's got to do, and in my case I have to actually allow the process to run from my virus software, so you might have to do the same thing, but that's just because it is a separate executable, separate process that's in there, that it's running its own math kind of outside ZBrush. But wait until you see what this does and see how fast it's going to do it. I mean, I'm barely even finished my sentence to you guys, and take a look at that. Take a look at that edge looping. Take a look at that nose. Holy Mary, Mother of God, that's amazing. Look at this. Whoa. We've got some nice around the eye. It's hugging that. It's beautiful. This is a game changer. And I'm not saying that lightly, because in, 15 seconds, I had almost perfect animation topology. Of course, some people are going to have some problems. Let's say you're going to want the eye edge loop to come around here. There's going to be some specific needs, but for software to get this out of the box, just press it once, is a revolution that is going to be paying dividends to us for a long time. Let's take a look at another example. Let me Control N to clear this screen. I'm going to select something as complex as my anatomy figure. Let's just merge it all into one piece. I'm going to go merge visible. And you can see this is all decimated. So really crazy, but it has a lot of form. And they recommend that you decimate high-res models so that the algorithm runs a little faster. But see, we've got tons of decimated geometry in there describing this, but not nearly as much as I would need if it was not decimated. So let's just push this off to the side. Let's zoom in on some topology. Let's say that leg. And then I'm going to go over and hit remesh. And now I haven't got into any of the settings. I'm just clicking the button and seeing, you know, what the default results are going to be. Okay, so I paused the video, but literally that was as long as it was for the face. And look at what we've got here. We've got the rectus femoris, nice clean form. We've got the adductors. We've got that vastus medialis, really nice clean forms. I didn't have to figure any of this out. It just happened automatically. Look at that. Retains its volume too. That's pretty amazing. And it's part of my undo history. There we go. Let's just ignore the wireframe, and let's see, did we lose anything? Not really. I mean, we lost some of this detail because of the poly count. And this is not decimation, so the goal is not to be keeping detail. The goal is to reduce the polygon count and keep the overall form. And establish edge flow. Decimation master again keeps the details. So pretty amazing possibilities there. And let's take a look at this girl one more time. And let's just dig into this a little bit more. First thing that I want to make sure you're really aware of, okay? It's not they barely mention this, but there are actually two of these algorithms. Two algorithms that they use for generating topology. And basically what they're going to be doing is they just treat symmetry slightly differently. So let's see how different they treat it. I'm going to undo. So we're back to the original kind of Dynamesh topology. I'm going to press and hold Alt and click Remesher. So again, I'm holding Alt and clicking ZRemesher. Okay, you just have to hold Alt and click. You don't have to hold Alt down as far as I know. And let's see what kind of topology this gives us. So anything different? Let's take a look, see if we can draw it. So this is a real clean line, and then here it's coming in, but it starts to pull in there, and then this is a nice clean line coming around, but here we can see it's starting to localize a lot of detail in there. This algorithm looks mostly the same, but we're getting a little bit more localization of form. There are two different ones, and the best approach I would take is, since this is so fast, go the clever monkey approach. Okay, remember the metaphor or the saying that a monkey, if given enough time, or a group of monkeys given enough years, like 10,000 years, will type out Shakespeare. Just, you've got only two buttons. You don't have to type Shakespeare. Just press it once, and then press Alt and press it once, and see if you get any different results. But let's talk about the next thing that's useful to know, which is the polygon count. Because right now at that the level, if we come up into let's say where it's been retopologized, we hover over this model, it's 7,660 polygons, and you can see I've set this to 5, but yet I'm getting 7,660. So that's because we've got adaptive on, which means that this is going to kind of do its own thing a little bit. But let's come in and just turn that off. And let's go back in time. So adapt is off, and hit ZRemesher. And go through our process. We don't need to analyze it, and we can continue execution. So with this off, it's going to hold to that target polygon count much more specifically. With adapt on, then it means, hey, change the size of the polygons to capture more of the flow. So how many do we have now? 5,074. Okay, when I turned adaptive off, 5,074. But what's the difference here between this adapt on or off? So first thing you need to know is that it is taking advantage of this adaptive size. So we need to understand a little bit about what adaptive size is to get a better sense of it. But before we go into the explanation, you know, we're artists. We don't need a bunch of words to explain this. We just need you to show me the money. So let's just put this somewhere here on the screen. I'm going to snapshot that down and then move it on over. I'm going to undo this. I'm going to turn Adapt back on, and let's go and ZRemesh this. Now, I'm not using the alternate. I'm using the normal. Just press the button, go, see what happens. So again, super fast. I mean, this is happening while I'm blabbering on here, filling your ear with a bunch of stuff, but just amazing that it's going by so quickly. So are you able to pick up what is different? It's not major, but it does have impact. If we count, you can see, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of polygons. And then let's count, well, 5, 6. We can go from there, the inside. No, we can do either one. Let's go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and 7. So this gave it 2 more rows coming down this way. And then there's a couple more rows here. And there's just a couple more rows to describe where the contour comes in and changes dramatically. And of course, animators need that because when you're dealing with flex in areas or you're needing to define a fold, you need more polygons in there to flesh it out. You know, if a surface is big like this arc I just drew, you don't need too many polygons to represent that. I mean, that's pretty simple. You put smooth normals into your renderer and you're going to get a nice smooth render out of that. But now if your form is boom, boom, let's do that in green so we stick to the metaphor. You're going to need a lot more. You're going to need 1, 2 in the high point, and here, and in here, here. And then if there's going to be any kind of movement happening where you need to define, say, how that fold is going to be moving, you really just want to put a couple more edge loops in there to give you room to describe stuff. So that's what it's doing, is when the form is turning in or making curves, and when it gets more complex, in essence, it puts more topology in there to describe the complexity. So let's do a test and see if this works. I haven't done this test myself, but this is with Adapt. And let's drop that in and mirror that over. Let's take, let's keep that at normal. Let's take our adaptive size, set that all the way down, but leave adaptive on, and see if we still get the same effect, the same kind of adaptation. Kinda not, right? But let's analyze this difference here real quick, because this is actually a pretty significant difference. We haven't seen this result, and you'll note that adaptive size is set to 50, and that's for a reason. So one thing that we'll notice about all of these polygon squares is that they have roughly the same surface area. There's an how do I say it? An exception right here where there's this star, but for the most part, almost all of these polygons are pretty equally sized. But if we come over into our face with the adaptive size on, I'm going to just color code some areas that I think have different levels of different sizing. So the forehead has one size. The cheek has that same size. The chin has it, and the neck has it. Though this entire model on the right has it. But the one where we used adaptive size, now the nose has an entirely different set of density. So does this area leading up to the cheek and around the nose. But then it doesn't just stop there. Then there's an entirely another level of density that's happening here in the corners of the mouth where there's a lot of form change, and then in the lips themselves and the teeth, and basically the entire mouth area where almost all of the surface change was happening. So having adaptive skin on allowed ZRemesher to really account for form as much as possible. But there are instances where you will want even, clean topology. It's not going to be in a face, but it is going to be in things like hard surface stuff, packs, if you have any kind of metal, guns, props, certain environment things. You'll want to just, say, get rid of adaptive skin and brute force that. Now, I'm about 15.5 minutes into explaining this, and I've got probably about another 2, 3, maybe another 5 more minutes to kind of really give you a sense of all of this. The next thing that I really want to do is show you how we can get a better result than you see right here. It's not a nice clean line because something gets interrupted. And so let's figure out how we deal with that. I'm going to undo, Control N to clear that screen. And let me really zoom in on what we're talking about. See how this edge flow it's just not working for animation, and then we create this pit right in there. So what it's analyzing, I mean it's doing a pretty solid job actually of analyzing the actual form. Let's turn wire mesh off. And you can see there is an indent there. There is a curvature that then terminates, and there's a sharpness really prominent right in here and there where I've painted green. You can see it on the other side. Boom, boom, and then there's this roundness. That's a problem. So one of the things they recommend that you do is you can lower your subdivision levels to make things like that less of a problem, or you need to just adjust them in your sculpt. So if I come in and I start to adjust this in my sculpt, let's say push this in so it's much cleaner. Maybe what I'll do is go to a lower subdivision level and I'll smooth the whole thing out. Okay, because the smoother it is in geometry, the more ZRemesher is going to interpret that. And the more continuous this line is that I'm drawing, the better off that's going to be. So I'm going to use /3 now because it has the property of, let's turn RGB off. It has the property of pinching. Okay, and smooth and come in. Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I just want to see if I can get it to a bit of a difference and show you how you can kind of exert some control here. It's not the only way to do it. This is really just one way I wanted to show you. So there. I'm not happy with that as a sculpt, but let's just see if that'll work. I'll set adaptive skin back. I'm going to leave target polygon on and adapt is on. I don't care about exact. I want it to adapt as much as possible. So it's going through and being analyzed. I'm going to execute it. And it's done. Let's turn polyframe on, and what do you know? We got a lot better of an edge loop flowing all the way around that. And that's really good, but I had to screw my sculpt up to really make that work. And, you know, this was a quick sculpt, so I'm not saying I'm happy with it the way it was, but it was better than what I had just put in. So let's undo this. There. Okay. So we're back to the original, okay, with that kind of messed up, that part that's really going to mess up the topology. And the other way that I can control how this works is by using the curve brush or the topology brush. So it's right there, the ZRemesher guides. That's the one that we want to be using. And we just draw these on. You can do it in symmetry, but let's say put that in there. I'm going to say OK, delete the history, and I want to really edge loop that lip. And then let's see if we can do that eye all the way around. There we go. And just for the measure of it, let's see if we can get kind of a classic line in there. Okay. So now this curve strength setting is going to work like adaptive size. It's going to act as kind of an intermediary between your curve and this adapt, or this algorithm. The goal is to let ZBrush do as much as possible, though. I find that to be the main success strategies. Let the program do what it does, because, man, they've spent time on these algorithms. Okay, and that finished up. Let's turn polyframe on. And what do you know? Nice edge loop coming all the way around. Look at that. That line coming through. Okay, we're getting clean form defining this. We're getting clean form defining exactly where we put those lines. So beautiful. Really amazing. Now there's a lot more to this feature. Okay, there are things like using poly paint. Okay, you can see it down here where you can paint things blue if you want. Let's do this color coded. Blue if you want more density. You can paint them red if you want less density, or just leave them white for the default, for whatever the algorithm thinks is necessary. But I don't want to go too far over 20 minutes in this. The last thing I want to show you is something that they recommend, which is pretty cool, which is to ZRemesh your ZRemeshed model. So I've done this once, and let's just put this off to the side, and then come over here and do our mirror image. That's not going to work. Okay. And then I'm just going to click ZRemesh again. So this is the second time, and we'll see, you know, how much of a better job this does. So I lost some stuff right in here, but this is still pretty clean. This is really clean the way this is working. And that's one option if I can go in and use, if I can go in and use projection to get some of that form back. And will really be useful if you're doing things with more props, environments, or if you're really just letting the algorithm go. Because you see I lost my guides here. So alright, that's 22.5 minutes of your life. I hope that I made that valuable and useful and contributed something to your understanding of ZBrush and your work as an artist. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. Good luck with everything you do, and I'll talk to you soon.